Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Hannah Berner from Giggly Squad. Have you ever put on a bra that makes you feel like a goddess? Prepare to be obsessed with the Dream Angels Wicked Bra from Victoria's Secret, the iconic brand behind the world's most comfortable bras. And I only wear the most comfortable bras. The bestseller features an innovative sling for perfect lift without padding, and the fit is chef's kiss. Awaken your inner goddess with new colors and super femme lace embroidery. Find out why this bra has thousands of 5-star reviews and counting. Shop it in stores and online at victoriassecret.com.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham, the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham, the attorney.
Oof, we are back. This is Love is Blind, Season 8, Episode 13, The Weddings. Oy.
Finally, here we are.
God, yeah.
We are at the end of another season
of the show. And I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this show anymore. I don't know how to feel. I realized it is hard watching a bunch of weddings like this. I found this a little boring and a little I just wanted to get to the altar.
Yeah. A lot of fast forwarding through, just the schmaltzy stuff. But I was surprised.
Yeah.
By
there were some surprises.
A couple of these. So, and also at least we had 4 weddings last season. And I think the season before we only had 2.
Yeah. Last season were the only 2 weddings, the 2 weddings where they made it down the aisle.
Yeah. It was Ashley and Tyler, and then,
Taylor and
Garrett.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before that, there was this season with, Lydia and what's the real tall guy?
But they called him that's not even his real name. They would call him Milton.
Yeah, and then there was one other couple, and I think they might have said no. I don't know, but this time we almost had 5, but no, we just have 4. But that's good. They had to split it up over.
Yeah.
So yeah, the cliffhanger was from last week, episode 12, Ben and Sarah. And so we left them literally at the altar.
Mm-hmm. But you could kind of tell from episode 12, I didn't want to say it when we were recapping then, but you could kind of tell what Sarah's answer was. Just the way her voice kind of went down a little bit, like, I love you, Ben. She hadn't said but yet, but you could tell. I just had a sense. I'm like, oh, she's no.
But did you have a sense when she was getting ready and talking to her sister? And because I felt like when she was doing all that, I felt she was still really super upbeat and smiley. And every once in a while she would kind of come down a little bit. But, when she was talking to her stepfather and everybody, she was, she seemed like she was ready to go. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, watching all of these, that's what I was wondering too about the people on the show and their families, because obviously before before the people go down the aisle, they want to make it seem like these are two people that are so in love. There's some issues and problems, but they're so in love. They're so committed. And I wonder, I'm like, do the editors and the producers, do they just edit out anything that could be construed as unsure or maybe not even unsure, but like a no? Like, you know, would they then make some other comment afterwards that indicated that, yeah, they were going to say no, but that got cut out?
Possibly. And here's the thing. This is what always gets me, is that I sincerely feel that, you know, these people know before they get there that day what they're going to say. I don't think people decide at the altar or walking down the aisle. And so you have these in the the lead up to the wedding, everybody's happy. You know, everybody's happy. Yet some of these couples know that they're going to say no.
Yeah.
Some of these people know they're going to say no. And then the producers probably tell them, you know, you're going to have to act it up here. You're going to have to, because I'm sure they tell them their decision, you know, in advance. And that's probably how they dictate, you know, who gets asked first. And, you know, it's a production. So they know, and they probably have to tell them, look, you got to act like you are so happy. This is the happiest day of your life. And pretend like you're really going to go and get married because, you know, that's how they came off.
Yeah.
That's how these all of them came off.
And that's what I was wondering. I'm like, is this just really good editing, or are these people, like, are they really putting them through this thing where they basically have to become actors and pretend that they are marrying the love of their life and doing it with their family and friends?
I know. Kind of lying,
and then making them do that too. I mean, it's so weird.
They're kind of having to lie to their family and friends in a sense, you know, because it's really weird, I think. Because every single one of them, you think, oh, they're going to say yes. They're both going to say yes because they're just all acting so damn happy.
Yeah. So there's just that part I find so weird. I just find it so weird. And I'm like, I don't know if we've seen anybody speak to this of how odd it is, because when we do learn what Sarah was really thinking, it was like, oh, okay, good. So you've been on the same page as the rest of us.
Right.
Because we learned it was the moment he said
it was George Floyd.
George Floyd.
So she says no. She said
Spoiler alert.
The officiant. Well, this is the finale. So if anyone hasn't watched the show and you don't want to turn this off, because this is it. This is the last episode. We're spoiling everything. They're saying it all. So the officiant asks her first, you know, what do you want to do? And she says no. And then did he say,
yes,
I want to keep dating you?
Yeah. And she said, well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So, she basically says we're not on the same wavelength. I think we all know what that means. He then is like, oh, okay, Mr. Agreeable. Oh, okay. Well, can we still date? Well, we'll talk about that. Like, it's a little weird to talk about this right now. Yeah. And then we see her leave, and, you know, her family's kind of following her, and she's like, I'm okay. But we see the scene with her mom and her sister and Sarah in the car. And she just was just like, this was not the time for, basically, first, this time frame was fast, but it really was lives matter. She said, he never thought about it. It happened in our city. He never thought about it.
I know. Exactly. We're all screaming,
Sarah.
Yes, Sarah. We've been saying this whole time. Yeah. And she said that he basically just, she didn't say these exact words, but basically she said he's not intellectually curious.
Yeah. He's not a curious person.
He's not a curious person. He's not. I mean, he's just sort of like, huh? What? And we talked about this last week about how the church stuff, I think, just bothered her. She couldn't get on board with that.
Well, and I think it was the fact what she was really waiting for. And I could see her being kind of back and forth with him. But I think that final date when she brought up to him, like, hey, I watched a video. This is their stance on, you know, if a child comes to you and says that they're gay, this is their stance. And I think it was the fact that he was like, well, I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. You know, he just kind of, he didn't either. It was either, I don't know. And she was Thank
I
God.
never thought about it.
Never thought about it. She was smart enough to know that either if he hadn't thought about it, that's a problem. But
Mhm.
if he had thought about it and knew what their policy was, and he knows what the truth is, that's a problem too. They're
Right.
both problems,
Right.
you know? And she speaks of this. She's like, I cannot marry someone based on the potential of them eventually getting there. She can't
Mhm.
marry him thinking, oh, eventually he's going to get it.
Mhm.
Because quite frankly, I mean, what is he, 29 now or something? It's like, no, I maybe he'll get it, but something big's got to happen to him. And she was very, very smart because, you know, if they had kids, those kids were going to be going to church, you know,
Mhm.
all of it.
Yeah, no,
All of it.
she did the right thing. And frankly, I'm surprised she was so enamored with him to begin with.
Yeah.
Because again, that George Floyd conversation took place in the pods.
Yeah.
And then she went through, you know, she accepted his proposal. She went through and she was, you know, they didn't really have any conflicts. Like there was that blip about the TikTok that turned out to be nothing, but it was like they were she's like having a great time with him, or at least acting like it. I mean, she's always smiling and just always very loving, and she just acted like she was having the greatest time of her life.
Yeah.
And all that time, she's thinking to herself, I can't be with this person. I can't be with this person. He doesn't
Yeah.
even care about George Floyd,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, she's thinking about her gay sister and the fact that he can't reconcile this with these church videos about having a gay child. And it's like, oh my God, how did she hold it together?
Well, I don't know. I could see how maybe in the pods that George Floyd thing bothered you, right? But here you are again on the show, and she seems like she's an open person. And I think that she probably was like, well, let me see. You know, I think this was this big red flag and she wanted to see. And I think that she did. And again, she kept seeing and seeing and seeing. And finally it got down to the wire. And I think she was like, here we are, we're getting married soon. Are you at all, has anything changed from the pods to now? No.
No.
Uh-oh, this has got to go. And I do think, even though some of these people won't admit it, I think there's a lot of people that go on the show, even though they say they might be ready to get married and all of that. But I think for a lot of people, they see it as an experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience that they were going to have. So maybe it might end in marriage, maybe it won't. So I think that's one of the big changes with this show is the fact that I think a lot of people go on the show, not for clout, but for the experience of this.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
know at the end of the day, they don't have to get married, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, what have you got to lose? I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that she might be someone like that who is just like, I wanted to have this experience and let me see what happens. And maybe I might fall in love. Who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, but Ben didn't see it coming at all, which again shows you a lot about Ben. The fact that Ben did not see this coming, his lack of curiosity, his lack of awareness. This woman has been asking you these questions. You want to marry her? You were going to say yes. This woman's been asking you these questions for I don't know how long. What did you think was anyway? And then he and his friends pray. Like this, he is very religious. Like he is not going to be okay with you not going to church.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a liar. Like I think she also read the fact that I think Ben's the kind of person who's like, yeah, okay, we'll just come. It'll be okay. Yeah. Oh, I haven't thought about that. Like there's something a little shady about this. Like just be open. And I think that he knows that he cannot be as open as really who he is because he knows that the audience isn't going to agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah. If there was no TV camera, he'd probably be saying, you know, I expect my wife to come to church with me and my family. That's what we do. We go to church every Sunday and we do this and we do that. He's not like some easygoing, easy breezy guy.
Yeah.
I think he's very controlled and very rigid and is only interested in certain things.
Yeah. I think things that affect him.
Yeah.
And his life.
Right.
And isn't it nice how he's a white male and not a lot affects him? Because you haven't had to, Ben.
Just like do, just walking through life.
Yeah. But both Lauren and Molly were there. They're everywhere, these two. They're the power couple. This new duo.
Yes, the new BFFs.
Yes. Okay. And then we get to Monica and Joey. And this one, I don't know. I'm not surprised,
No.
but I was surprised how it turned out. I was very nervous that Monica was going to say yes and he was going to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought she was going to pull this is from a couple years ago, where I can't remember the name of the woman who, like, she had to go first and she said, I'm not going to answer this. I want you to answer it first.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
Was
the
that?
blonde woman
Huh.
who was in that triangle with
Was that Brit?
Kwame?
Oh, no. Kwame and Chelsea?
Chelsea. So, but she
I don't
was,
know.
I forgot her name, but she did that. So I thought Monica might do that. Like, let me hear from you, because that seemed to be sort of the energy of their relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I think that and Monica talked about this last time, where she felt a little bit like, I can't get a straight answer from him. He's not saying to me, absolutely, yes, I'm going to say yes to you. We're in this together. And the more that he was kind of wishy-washy with her, the more she kind of backed up. And the more I think he felt like, and I'm sure he felt that. And so he started to kind of, I think he also responded to that as well. But one thing about Joey that really irritates me is this whole thing of, well, you know, I don't make any decisions until I'm in the moment. And then knowing how I feel in that moment, that's the moment I'm going to make the decision. Like, that's his excuse for everything. That was his excuse to her about not giving her an answer of yes or no. I don't know how I'm going to feel until I got into that moment. But then we learn that he said, you know, based on how I was feeling, I too was going to say no, because it just wasn't enough time. So I'm sorry, 2 days before you knew that. I just think it's kind of a lame excuse. It kind of gives you this out to never own the fact that you thought about something, or own the fact that you made a decision and maybe they won't like that decision. It's just like, okay, well, in the moment, I didn't feel it. It's like, if your feelings go from 0 to 60 all the time, then you've got bigger problems. Like, if you're feeling one way one day and totally the opposite the next, there's something more going on.
Yeah. Also, I don't believe that he makes these decisions in the moment. I mean, well, you know, prior to the ceremony, we see his mother, who now it's been so long now. I forget what the mother's issues were.
The mom was kind of bad with money. And they were always like losing houses and money. And so he felt like he had to get and make money for the family very early on.
And take care of her.
Yeah. And his sisters and that's why he has this real estate, and he's so focused on money.
Yeah. So that is antithetical to, just kind of, make things up, do it in the moment, whatever I'm feeling. No, Joey, you actually are a very responsible person who took responsibility for your family early on, got a good job so you can support it. He said that he basically knows he's going to have to support his mom for the rest of her life because she can't do it herself. And, to provide this family home and provide stability. So he's got that whole thing, but then he tries to come off as being like, oh, I'm just like this cool dude, like the hair, coming in on a skateboard.
Oh God, the skateboard,
the Hawaiian shirts, like all of it. He tries to come off as just being like this, happy-go-lucky, whatever, and he's not.
No,
he obviously has to plan things out, work very hard. So I don't know. I don't think he really knows, who he is exactly and what he wants. And, he's got so much stuff going on. And you could tell just by the mom's energy. Well, she's very, fragile.
Yes. And what are you wearing, Mom, to this wedding?
I don't know.
Like, we're wearing a blue, like the sisters are both wearing these pretty Hawaiian-y kind of flowery dresses. I'm sure they probably got the memo about that. The mom is wearing a 1980s blue, strappy, sparkly dress. Like, everyone look at me. The minute I saw her in that dress, I'm like, oh, this is an interesting mom. Like, oh, okay, we're getting some things.
Yeah.
And just a little bit about, like, you could get the sense that those sisters, this family's used to taking care of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think Joey, even though he's 34, really doesn't know himself very well, because I think that I think he's another person who maybe because of his childhood and the way he was raised that he, had to be really responsible. And then there was so much chaos that created a lot of anxiety and that OCD, and I think that he hates that. He hates the control part. He loves it, but hates it. And so he works very, very hard to be seen as this carefree kind of guy. And it's like, yeah, you are working overtime to show us that you're carefree and cool and, whatever it is. It's like, you could wear the Hawaiian shirts. You don't need to point out to us how kooky that is. Like, just be you. Like people who wear Hawaiian shirts, they just like to wear them. They're not pointing it out to us all the time. That was one thing about him. And I'm still unsure about his job because they call him a physician's associate. That's not efficient. Is that different than a PA, a physician's assistant?
I don't know. Maybe they call it that in Minnesota. They have a different name for it. I don't know.
Okay.
But
so we both think he's almost a doctor, kind of, maybe.
I think it's akin to, maybe it's like a step below a physician's assistant. Maybe he's in training. I don't know.
I just wonder if it's something that like, maybe he runs a medical office. Is it possible that we've all thought he was like a Dr. Light and maybe he's not? I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. But yeah.
Yes.
And Monica, I think, she was sort of trying to match his energy sometime, the goofiness of the two of them together.
Yeah.
But you could tell that I could tell she was very worried and.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's why I'm really glad that she said no. And I'm glad she said no. I'm glad that she was able to go first. I think the producers maybe thought, or I don't know what answer she gave them, but maybe she thought she was going to say yes. But I think that she figured out that, which was very smart of her. She was like, this guy's not going to choose me. So F you, I'm choosing myself. Do you know what I mean? Instead of being like, I'm going to wait for your answer or I'm going to say yes, praying, hoping that you say yes. I think what she realized was, I don't want to be with someone who makes me feel like I'm not enough or I'm not being chosen.
He's not that into you. And I think she complained about, that he wasn't very, physically affectionate or, is that what she was complaining about?
He wasn't, he said I was working on my physical affection and all of that, but I don't even think it's the affection piece. I think it's how he made her feel. Physical touch might be, she said, her love language, but you know how it is when someone makes you feel like you're going to show up for them. And then you meet someone who you're like, maybe they will, maybe they won't. And you never know. Like that's how she felt. And it's interesting because he's making Monica feel that same anxiety that he felt growing up. So you see sort of these patterns of behavior, even though he thinks, I've changed the pattern of my mom. I'm not bad with money. I'm really good with money. Look how responsible I am. You can't fully give yourself to someone else because of, this need to control or feel like you need to be in control and you can't really give yourself over. That's a problem.
Right. Yeah, because that is the ultimate, surrendering controls if you, choose to marry someone and commit to them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So much.
That was a heavy one.
Yeah, it was. But good for you, Monica. You go find someone who thinks you're awesome. I could also see maybe these two, I could be wrong. I could see these two maybe dating, because I think they both were into each other. It's just part of it is they need more time. Like I was saying at the last episode, it's just so many words. We are so stuck in words and we just need, and if you look at all the reasons people said no, some of it was the words, but it was really related to their actions. Again, the George Floyd thing, that was just words, but it was when she got home and saw the actions, did this match? Oh, yep. Okay. Same thing here. And we're going to see this with the next couple too. So yeah. And then Joey complains that she never said, I love you to him. And so it's a little bit of this other thing too, of him kind of like, see, she doesn't love me. Ugh. This Joey, I don't know.
Well, did he say I love you to her and she didn't say it back or?
Well, that's what she was complaining too. It sounds like she didn't feel it. So she didn't say it to him. And then Joey blames Monica saying no because of her sister. And I'm like, the sister had nothing to do with it. Like, she was just skeptical of you, and she's just being a protective older sister. That's it. She could, I don't think Monica was going to make a decision based on that or not. But anyway.
Yeah. All right.
So next is Virginia and Devin. And I really thought.
I thought they were, I thought she was going to say yes.
I mean, she found 2 ladybugs.
Oh, yeah.
2 ladybugs. I saw a ladybug yesterday, and I thought I was very lucky.
Well, and this is what I mean about the acting. Like when she was in that scene where she comes out in her dress and she's so happy. She feels so beautiful. And she's like, I just feel beautiful. I love this dress. And everyone is just, fawning over her, and it just is so beautiful. And, everyone's so happy. Devin's family's so happy. The mom's she's really happy.
Yeah.
And then.
Wait, did you see when Devin got to the venue, he was wearing some of his fancy tennis shoes. Oh, yeah.
And
he had his kicks on. They all got married at the same place, right?
Yeah.
That was the same place.
Yeah,
okay.
It was the same place. Might have been different rooms, but it looked like it had several venues in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really thought this was just going to be just yes. Everyone's happy.
She really did look gorgeous, I have to say.
She really did.
But
now, there was one big flaw in this wedding. Everything was great, except what the fuck with that bouquet?
Yeah, with the black ribbon.
Yeah, so that was awful with the feather. It had this beautiful orchid spray, which was nice, but then there's a big white feather and like this stiff black ribbon kind of, like a stick of ribbon. And then he had a boutonniere that was a feather with like a gold D on it. And
that was dangling. It was like dangling, but the feather wasn't like a huge, the feather's like half as, it bumped the microphone. It's like huge. It's like this giant thing. They were the ugliest things I've ever seen.
What? Yes. Where, who, and why? Like,
I think this was Devin's family. That's just me.
You think they picked that out?
Remember, was she the mom that had a lot of tchotchkes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Devin's mom more is more with Devin's mom. I really do. I think yes, I think more is more. I think that was all her. I think that, Virginia is a stunning woman, period. She looked stunning in that dress. And that's what hit me. It was like, you guys aren't talking about Devin at all. You're just all talking about how hot she looks. And she did. And I think that's in that moment. I think she's just like, well, I'm just going to admire myself. Like, I don't know if I'll see myself in a dress like this again. And so, hey.
True. Yeah. And then Devin's little niece is the flower girl.
She was so cute. And then did you see that she ran out of flowers really quickly? She's like, oh no, couldn't make it down the aisle. She was very cute.
Yeah.
Very, very cute.
That was nice. And the parents, so then we meet Virginia's dad. Who seems happy for her. And we've already met Devin's family. Everyone's there. Yeah, I thought it was just going to go swimmingly.
Yeah, her aunt, Virginia's aunt and godmother was the officiant.
Yeah.
And we thought, I wrote down in my second note, I said, they both may say yes. Yay. I was super excited. Now, this is where I knew I was a little nervous. Towards the end, everyone leaves and we have this long shot of, I don't remember what song it is, some sad but a popular song playing with a long shot of Virginia looking like a deer in the headlights. Do you know what I mean? I think it was in that moment I was like, uh-oh, this isn't as clear as we think it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I still didn't. Well, yeah, when she was at getting ready to walk down the aisle when I first saw that horrible bouquet thing, her mood did kind of shift. Her dad was like trying to talk to her and she was just being very quiet. She kind of had her head down. Her mood, I think, definitely shifted. So,
because I do wonder if some of these people who maybe are pretty like 90% sure they're going to say yes or no. I do wonder, like, if you do stop for a moment and go, well, wait a minute, should I say yes? Should I say yes? And I can imagine being in that moment going, am I making a mistake? Am I making a mistake? But no. So this is what drives me crazy about these wedding episodes. We get so much prep ahead of time. And then we get this very short thing at the end of like why that person said no. All of a sudden, Virginia started spilling all the good tea, all the good stuff. We learned some things about Devin. One thing that we learned, which was that, which we already saw a little bit of, which is that Devin didn't want to talk about politics. And I think that what happened was that Devin didn't want to talk about these heavy duty topics on camera. And then it sounds like when she would try to bring the topics up off camera, it sounds like he didn't want to talk about it then either. And we saw that, the scene where when she's trying to talk to him about politics, like, how do you vote?
Yeah.
And I feel like Virginia, I think, had been really acting and being very diplomatic for a long time, because I think we saw that her fire, we saw like maybe her real personality at the end here when she was like, he told me he voted this way and that way. That's crazy. And blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. She was always kind of walking on eggshells with him, it seemed, on camera, being very delicate about everything. And I just lost my train of thought, but, she, again, do you think maybe this is a case of Devin maybe also not being very intellectually curious?
Yes.
And then also, but I do think it is combined with the fact that, he's a Black man. He has to be very careful about what he says, and he knows he's being filmed, and, and apparently his family's Republican, or at least his father is. He said that. And yes, there's a lot going on here. And so I can see why he wouldn't really want to get into that. Yeah. But I mean, why can't they talk about it when the cameras are gone?
And I think that was also part of the problem, is I think that he hadn't really thought about these things and hadn't had these feelings. I don't know if he did vote. Do you know what I mean? And I think that he couldn't have conversations with her. The other thing that we learned is there was no sexual relationship. Yeah. So one thing I did notice with them is I never got a lot of passion, like a lot of chemistry there. So I'm not surprised, but it sounds like, he's a 28-year-old guy. I mean, so who was he trying? And she was just like, no. It's like that whole thing was very odd, but it sounds like there was something there. Like you were right. She was not attracted to him.
Something. I mean, there were scenes in Honduras where they, were in the pool and, and they said that they were attracted to each other, but that was in the very, very beginning. And and I can understand taking it slow or whatever, but they went all the way back and, lived together in that apartment for at least a couple weeks. And, they never got there. Yeah. That's something weird there.
Well, and the last one was my favorite thing that we learned, which is that apparently a family friend of Devin's a family friend or relative must have given Devin a wedding gift, a check for the two of them for their wedding. And so Virginia learned about this from Devin's mom, but she never heard it from Devin. So she had been waiting around a bit. See, I think this is the action part, right? Like this is the stuff. And unfortunately, if you think this sounds petty, it's like all the information that she really could glean. But I think these things are important. Like he never said anything to her about it. Now, do we think that he was trying to do something shady? Who knows? It is possible that he simply cashed it and forgot and didn't think anything of it. But it is shady. It is shady to get a wedding gift from somebody and cash the check and never even say anything about it. Because I mean, even if it was $100, 50 of it's hers. But it's a little bit like that made her feel a little weird. And I don't blame her.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a sign. It's yeah. And yeah, she did kind of, once she was able to open up, I wish they would have just kept rolling, because she just kind of started spilling all the tea about Devin. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I don't, again, I don't want to I don't think she's trying to make like Devin seem like he's a shady person.
Mhm.
I just think that showed a lot about the two of them and just how they saw things. And I think Devin kind of was like, oh, we got a gift. Great. Cat, takes the check, cashes it, and then just moves right along and doesn't think about, oh, I have, this is for the two of us. So I don't know. Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Hannah Berner from Giggly Squad. Have you ever put on a bra that makes you feel like a goddess? Prepare to be obsessed with the Dream Angels Wicked Bra from Victoria's Secret, the iconic brand behind the world's most comfortable bras. And I only wear the most comfortable bras. The bestseller features an innovative sling for perfect lift without padding, and the fit is chef's kiss. Awaken your inner goddess with new colors and super femme lace embroidery. Find out why this bra has thousands of 5-star reviews and counting. Shop it in stores and online at victoriasecret.com.
Yeah, well, he was devastated.
He was. Oh my God.
And his family, like everyone, they were pissed.
Yes, they were very pissed.
Especially the mom.
Mhm.
And the sister. I mean, they were really, really mad. And this I thought was so funny. So after Virginia leaves, and I think they're still sitting in the audience, and they're crying, and the little niece goes, "What's wrong? Like, what happened?"
Yeah.
And the father, Devin's father, who has never spoken a word that I can recall on this show, we've never heard him open his mouth.
Mhm.
He turns to the little girl and he says, "She said no." It's just like, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Finally, we hear from
Yes.
Devin's father. But yeah, no, Devin was crushed.
Yes.
The whole family's pissed off.
Yeah. Oof.
Oh,
Yes. Not happy.
So, yeah, I think this at the reunion, that's going to be interesting
Yes.
to hear from them.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if Devin's still pissed a year later. Again, that's going to tell you a lot about a person. Can
it
Devin
happened
see
here.
this for what it is and, say some things, or is he still mad and blaming her? So this entire time I'm watching the show and I'm like, I know there's one more wedding after this. Which couple is this again? I was like, God, I was like really in the depths of my brain. I was going to stop the show, but then finally I'm like, oh, it'll come up. I'll eventually find out. And then I'm like, oh, right. Daniel and Taylor.
Yeah, I thought they were already married.
Yes.
It's like, oh, we actually have to go through this thing? Okay.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. I mean,
And then I was like, oh, they saved these two for last because we need some joy in all of this shit that we've just watched.
we got to end on a good note.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even remember anything about the wedding. It was just like everything, everything was perfect. Everybody's happy. It's just, literally, they both know, they're getting married. There's no question. Like, are they going to say yes? I mean, it's just a done deal.
Yeah. They got those ornaments for everybody, they want those on your tree. But yeah, they very much, it was, and the vibes were very different with these two. Like they both wrote each other cards and, the similar way and sentiment of that. And we learned they have not consummated the wedding, but
tonight they're going to do it tonight.
They are. So it definitely sounds, and I think that they definitely have chemistry. I think the two of them just decided to wait for whatever reason. And then we see John, Daniel's dad. He talks about And I like this dad. I do. Because what he said is that, it takes a lot of courage to come on the show. And it does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's one piece, as much as we're all kind of laughing. It's like, yeah, it does. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to come on the show and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And some people do it and, can. Other people try, but they can't. I mean, but it does. It takes a lot to kind of put that out there. And he talked about what it was like, Daniel's their second child. And he said, our first child, Rachel, when she, being born blind, that the whole time when they were pregnant with Daniel, not quite knowing. And he said, it's okay. It's, we love Rachel, but it's like, there was a tremendous amount of stress before he was born of like, what could this be?
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope people, he said then afterwards, once he found out that the baby was healthy, she was healthy, everything was fine, that he came home and he was emotionally exhausted from all that worry, which does make you wonder a little bit about, right? We know so much more now about babies and the state of the mother, of how they're feeling. I do wonder if all of that anxiety was passed down to Daniel. But yeah, I mean, I like this. I like this dad. I think, and I hope people didn't misinterpret what he was saying. I don't think he definitely wasn't saying anything about being disappointed with Rachel. I think he's just really talking about what it's like to have a child with different needs and how that affects the other children that you have, how that affects how you see things, all of that.
Yeah, it makes you worry more. I think it was more like, like he was so worried that something would, because now he knows it can happen.
Yes.
And so then he was so worried. And I think he was just expressing that he was just so grateful. He's just grateful for his children to be happy and healthy and, whatever. And Rachel sang and played the piano at the ceremony.
Sang, Can't Help Falling in Love. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So, I love that family. I love,
and then Taylor's dad, I guess, had been really sick. And we heard about this in the show. And they're just so grateful that he could walk her down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
Connie was there, being Connie.
Connie, she is just, I don't know. She looks perpetually just sort of stressed out. Just kind of like, oh God.
Yeah. So they both said yes. Finally, yay. God damn it. Yeah.
Happy.
Yes. And then there's this part, and finally we got to see a party. Can you imagine having to go to these weddings and being like, okay, this could be an hour or this could be all night. I don't know. We might have to make dinner reservations and cancel them. I mean, it really does put your guests in a funky spot.
Yeah. I'm sure that the venue knows. I'm sure the producers say, you don't need to make chicken for 100 people tonight.
Yeah,
don't worry about it. The venue knows if there's going to be a party or not, but nobody else.
Yeah. But it is such a weird thing. It is. So. It is. I don't know. I wish they would give us a little bit more inside baseball on what happens, because I would really like to know at what point do they really tell people, no, you cannot break up now. You've got to wait till you get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Or if this is solely a decision each person makes and they decide, like, I'm going to play it out and go all the way to the end. I mean, obviously Lauren and Dave were a bit of a mess, but I just wonder, do the producers say to them, no, you have to keep this going until you get to the altar? Like, some of these people, it sounds like, I don't know. I don't think Virginia was back and forth. I think she's a pretty solid person. So I just wondered, like, Virginia
when did she decide? Yeah.
When did she decide? And at what point? Is it almost like once you do the wedding dress shopping, you're kind of committed to having to go all the way?
I'm trying to think if there's ever been a case where, someone, they were planning the wedding, got the dress, ready to go, and just didn't show up. There must have been at least one. But I see what you're saying, like production-wise. I wonder if you're obligated once you get past a certain date that you have to go through with the wedding, and you can say no, but you have to go through with the wedding. or if, you just decide the day before or the day of, like, I don't even want to go.
Mm-hmm.
There might be penalties. There might be financial penalties, built into their contracts. But, you also don't want to be forcing people to do things.
So yeah, that's what I wonder. I think I could see that because I'm trying to think back, because last year Hannah wasn't part of wedding dress shopping, and she and Nick broke up right before that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that one time with Marshall and that one woman, she didn't even come. Like, she just no-showed to the event. Marshall showed up to try on the groomsmen stuff, and she didn't even show up.
Yeah.
So then they had to break up. But yeah, we've never seen anybody go and get the wedding dress, put it on, do all of that, and then break up afterwards.
Maybe that's the tipping point.
If we buy you this dress, God damn it,
you got to show up.
Yeah, you got to show up, and this is happening. And so maybe that's it. But and then that makes me wonder with Virginia. I mean, again, I think, was she back and forth up until that point? I don't know.
Maybe she just found out about the check like the day before, a couple days before, and maybe that was the last straw. Maybe she was going to. Maybe she was going to say yes, but I don't know. The things that she was talking about, they're pretty fundamental. Again, back to the kind of the intellectual curiosity and the not really sharing about your, very important things. And it's not just political. Abortion is not a political. That people make it, but it's more than that. It's about fundamental human rights. And if you're not willing to talk about that or get into it, I'd be worried too.
Yeah.
Because what if she gets married and she gets pregnant and something goes wrong with the child and, she has to have an abortion? She needs to know what this guy is going to, how he's going to react.
Yeah.
If her life is in danger and she needs to do this, is he going to be telling her no? I mean, come on, this is important. And I think maybe it took her a while to say that, or to get there, to be you know what, I can't be going into this.
Maybe
information.
Yeah, maybe it's possible that she was like, okay, I tried to bring this up on camera. That didn't work. He doesn't want me to. Maybe she did try to bring it up off camera many times and kept getting shot down. And then the check just just bugged the shit out of her.
And maybe she didn't like his answer off camera.
It's possible, because we don't know what his answer was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, she talked about voting, that you have to vote. As a Black person, sometimes you have to vote for your own self-preservation and not just on faith. Faith is not everything.
Yes.
So yeah, who knows? God, I hope she tells us. I want to know.
Yeah, I hope this comes out in the reunion. I'm very excited for that. Hopefully, if we don't get a bunch of dumb questions and answers and all this other kind of stuff. So, just to, because I've been going on social media and I've been looking, and I got, so this guy that is the guy that Dave and Lauren, the guy that is the Friends with Benefits, is this guy named Dan. Dan must be a very popular name in Minnesota. Dan, and he's 37 and he's a lawyer. Now, this guy is so thirsty. He is so thirsty. So he made, if you go to his Instagram, I don't know his last name, but I was watching Storytime with Ricky, and she shows all these pictures, all this posts that this guy Dan has been posting. At first we see this picture of him smiling with the logo of Love is Blind in the background. Like he's a contestant. And I'm like, oh wait, was this guy a contestant too? No, Dan just made that photo. So Dan photoshopped himself into one of those Love is Blind, posts where they introduce the cast.
Oh my God.
Then he also has this other post where you see him like he's walking into the room and he's about to sit down and he puts headphones on, that kind of classic, I'm going to as if I have an interview, I'm about to be interviewed, but it's just that promoting an interview that he never had.
Wow.
And there's more. And then there's another one of him where he transposes his face on the Bill Clinton, I never had sexual relations with that woman. He posts his face on that and, and him as if he's saying it, meaning Lauren, which we know isn't true. And Clinton was lying too. So you dummy. And then there were more. I mean, it just went on and on and on. This guy, he claims he had been contacted by the production, but as far as everyone knows, like he did all of this on his own, all of this on his own. And he's a lawyer. Like,
yeah,
what do you do? Like, really? He's 37 years old. So when you were 37 at your point in your career, Brooke, I mean, number one, did you have time to make all these posts or do you think that it would be a good look? I mean, you were working for Dad at the time, but it's a little bit like if I was a partner at this law firm with this guy, I'd be like, what the fuck is your problem?
Oh, God,
stop posting
no.
things. I'd be so annoyed.
No. And I'm sure that his employer is probably annoyed, I'm sure they've gotten wind of this. Yeah, it's very, very unprofessional and just very thirsty, lawyer or not.
Thirsty.
That is
so thirsty.
So that makes me wonder if this is his character, what was he telling Dave? What lies was he telling Dave about Lauren?
Well, and there was something about there was a connection because I think Dan and Dave are connected to each other through their fraternity or they're all friends. And so first off, that tells you that Dave's friends are douchey. So that tells you a lot about him. But also, the fact that Dave's going to believe this guy over Lauren, Dave basically took this guy's word. And I think so much of this is about the fact, I think it didn't matter who Lauren was with, as long as she was with one of his friends, it was never going to be acceptable. I think it was the fact that she was with one of his friends and that he didn't like that. That's not what he wants. He wants someone who is, again, he has a weird virgin whore complex.
Yeah.
And for him to have someone that this guy, Dan, who's kind of a douche, this guy, Dan, had sex with her. Well, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I think, it was because it was someone that he knew.
Yeah.
And therefore that person could then tell everyone else, know, as opposed to it just being some random stranger and you don't know, doesn't matter how many people they tell. They don't know you. Yeah. I mean, this is all about Dave's ego.
Yeah.
It's just ego. And he just can't.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a shame because Lauren, I think, would have been a great partner. I think Lauren's a great person. I think she is ready for marriage and I think she would be a great partner. I really do. And you fucked up, Dave. But Lauren, you were so lucky he did all this. You're so lucky. Be so grateful to Dan for exposing Dave. And please get away from these guys. These guys sound awful.
Yeah. Get away from this friend group.
Yeah.
This group of bros.
Oh,
Maybe,
so Dan also lived in the building where all the couples were staying.
Yeah.
So apparently Dan made some sort of claim that he couldn't live at his place anymore because he was emotionally upset by seeing all of this. He made some kind of lawsuit or claim or something.
But you can go online and post these stupid things. That's not emotionally upsetting, but being associated with this show and you're posting about it. Come on.
Well, because when he comes home to the lobby of his building, there's people filming. And that's emotionally upsetting to him. I don't know if he was seeking damages, but apparently he was complaining to I had to go stay with friends because it was too upsetting. It's oh my God. So he's trying to get something. He's trying to get money or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Wow.
I don't think he works for a law firm. I really I don't know. I have a lot of clients. I have lawyer clients. And if you work for a big law firm, you have no time for this. You do not have time to make Love is Blind posts. So that makes me really think this guy doesn't have enough to do.
Well.
So, yeah. And then apparently there's some other tea that I saw, which was about Madison and Alex, and apparently that guy Alex, who comes across as really sweet and charming, that someone else posted something about him. Apparently he's a bit of a crazy person too. I can't remember what the full thing that they said was, that essentially Alex kind of, his way of kind of love bombing people, and it got me, is to tell everyone, this story of being humiliated, of being like treated terribly and bullied and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? It's interesting because I often see these people telling these stories of being bullied. Maybe it's just my ego, but everyone's been bullied. But I would never get on TV and tell people about how I was bullied unless I really felt like I had something that I needed to say about it. And it was so important I had to share this. But like, I'm always interested in people that find these really painful things to become part of, like, the first thing we hear about you is the most painful thing that you went through. And it was terrible. He was bullied. He wasn't, the stories that he told, but then now you're kind of like, are these really true stories? Or is this part of your act? Or did all those things really do happen? But now this is part of your, like, I'm going to make people feel sorry for me, and then I'm just going to treat them like crap. But apparently Alex does stuff like this, like what he did to Madison, this kind of like building you up and ripping it away. So,
wow.
But Madison's a piece of work too. So, I mean, I think she also, none of that was going to be good.
They were not ready to be
getting
married.
So when we started the season, you said you were not impressed. And so I think, what have we learned? We've learned that these women are pretty smart because they all said no.
Yeah. And, I think like with Dan and Daniel and
Taylor.
I've already forgotten her name. Taylor. Like, he was a diamond in the rough. I mean, I think that's another thing. Like, you just don't know. Like, when we first saw him, he's not like some stunner. It's not like you go, oh God, he's so, he's just kind of like,
he's cute,
it's regular,
but he's not
cute.
like,
he's
not
cute,
Clay.
but he's just kind of very regular. And he was insecure about, he's only 5'8", and that whole thing. And, he turned out to be just the nicest person, and he handled that whole thing with the social media stuff very well. And,
because, this is one thing. And I really do feel for men that, because this is who my husband is too. I think Dan is a lot like Steve in the sense that Steve would never, ever go to a bar and try to pick up a woman. He could not like walk up to some woman and say, hi, I'm da-da-da-da-da. And I think Dan's the same way. And there's a lot of men out there that it's not that they don't like themselves or they're not confident. They just don't have that kind of like walking up to a stranger and starting a conversation kind of energy. And I think that's Dan. Like, I think Dan was maybe that guy that would go out with his friends, but maybe would chat with people, but never felt that level of confidence. And I definitely think it sounds like he would never approach Taylor.
No,
he would have never approached Taylor.
I don't have a chance.
I don't have a chance. So I'm not even going to go over there. So he wouldn't have. And I think that Taylor also maybe wouldn't have given him a chance. Like, I think they are absolutely that story, and they, wouldn't have met otherwise, but they did. But they are very much the same person. Yeah. They have so much in common, and everything aligns for them. So I'm very happy. I mean, I think that the quote unquote experiment works in that way. But, for people who struggle with, the whole kind of like first date talking bar club scene kind of thing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they are a success story, and that's what the show is supposed to be about. And then also, like, going back to, let's remember our first encounter with Dave, where he walks into, I forget who he was talking to, if it was Lauren or whatever, walks into the pod, and the first, thing he says is, so what's wrong with you? And then he said something else about how, whoever he was talking to said, well, I'm 32 or something like that. And he's like, oh, so you're not hot anymore?
Yeah, I'm 30.
It was like, it was like those comments, those very passive aggressive that are really aggressive kind of comments, like that says a lot about a person. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Daniel would never say something like that. You know, it's like, it's just that kind of tells you all you needed to know right then, how vain he is. And then that plays out at the end where he's so vain that he can't stand the thought of Lauren having sex with someone that he barely knows. It's like,
or deems less than him.
Right. Like, because she wasn't having sex with him in Honduras. You know, she didn't jump his bones the minute that they got there. And, you know, so yeah, he told us who he was, like that very first day. And
can I also say something about Dave? Dave, I think, very much represents this toxic male that has been around, because I know a million Daves, because you were in a sorority, I was in a sorority. Dave is the ultimate frat boy. And I've met versions of Dave my entire life. Yeah. And Dave, unfortunately, this was not your era anymore, honey. You should have been born 30 years ago, because in the 90s, these kinds of guys, Daves of the world, they would be able to get away with the shit. And the thing is that, and women, we would think, oh, he's just being this way or that way. We did not comment on that kind of behavior back then. These guys that, like, if you reject them, what's her problem? Why are you so sensitive? If they make fun of you or rip on you and you at all have an issue with it, you know, you call them on it. Oh, they're sensitive, like just dismissive and rude and entitled. And yeah, I'm sure people do look at you and think you're attractive, Dave. Yeah, I'm sure you do have, you know, carry yourself well and all these other things. But I think underneath that is an entitled, privileged piece of shit. Like, and this kind of male that we've seen in our world, and when I say white male that we've seen in our world, it's like, no, it's not funny. It's not cute. It's disgusting. And they need to be called out more, because
but he's still getting girls.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But that kind of bullshit behavior, it pisses me off, because I know those guys, they're awful. They're truly awful. And they have there's no growth, no sensitivity. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. But yet I'm sure
they're still being bred and born.
He goes out and, you know, girls, I don't know, God, I would not go back in time to that time in my life for all the money in the world, you know, where you're just, everyone is there's the posturing and the posing that goes on. You know, people in bars and going out and doing this and looking for a husband, looking for a wife, looking for this, looking for that. It's like, awful.
But yeah, and also not standing up for people, not right. Like, you know, because trust me, if there was a group of girls and Dave came over and Dave started like flirting with one and then making fun of another one of the girls, if she was maybe a little heavy or not as pretty or this, none of those girls would stand. I'm not saying this is everybody, but I'm just saying this is what I see a lot of, or like friends not standing up for friends. Like there was a lot of this sort of like whatever the man said, you kind of went with.
Are you talking about like when we were that age? Or
yes.
Now?
No, I'm not talking about now. I don't know what goes on now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about back then.
Yeah.
Where there weren't a lot, like I didn't feel like there was a lot of female power standing up for each other, protecting each other, caring for each other, versus like, oh, this is what this guy said, so I'm just
it was kind of girls were cutthroat, you know, because they wanted to, you know, I can't explain what it was like when we were in our 20s, like the focus, like a young woman, even an educated woman who's, you know, been to college, going to college, whatever, like your number one thing in life that you were supposed to focus on is finding a man and getting married. And so you could be pregnant, you know, before and have kids before you're 30. You know, it was like, that was the mentality. And people did a lot of stuff, you know, to get there. And if it meant being cruel to some other, you know, quote unquote girlfriend, or even I remember in my sorority house, like, you know, there was competition sometimes over a guy and like, you know, and the girls just got real nasty.
Yeah.
It got dirty.
Yeah. I had already met Steve. We had just started dating, but when I was 20, 27, I went back east to go to one of my first friends from college to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shocking to me, shocking to see all of these women that I went to school with. Like, it was almost like geared on, we have got to find men.
Mm-hmm.
Like every last one of them was like finding men and who was this guy and who was that guy and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, didn't we all just go to college together to, I don't know, grow and like no one was talking about their career. Like no one cared about their careers. I'm like, no one. And I was at this point too, where I too felt this pressure. I always cared about my career, always have. And so I was a little annoyed that like, oh God, this is our whole identity is this now of like, if you're in a relationship with somebody or not. But what drives me crazy is I look back now on all the years that I was single and it wasn't enough. I so wish I could go back in time and just enjoy being single.
Yeah.
Because I never allowed myself to feel single. And the thing was that when I look back on that time, it was like, I don't think I really was ready for a serious relationship. I look at all these like relationships and situationships I was in. I was like, yeah, I don't think I was ready for someone then. I don't think I was ready for someone there. Like, but I felt like every relationship had to turn into something. Like the pressure to never, I just never felt like I could just, no one was ever encouraging me to just be alone and enjoy it and love it and be happy. And that's why I'm always like saying to my clients all the time, like, eventually you're going to meet someone. And I swear to God, you're going to be dying to be alone in your house. Like, I cannot even tell you.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And I look back on that and it makes me feel really, really sad.
Yeah.
It does, because I never just got to enjoy being young and being single and just enjoying that and appreciating that. I had lots of experience and I had fun, but like, I just never, it always felt like until you find someone, you don't truly have it all.
Right. And we were raised to, in the wake of, the feminist movement in the 70s, we were raised like, yeah, you can do it all, you can have it all. And yet when we got, there, all the emphasis was on getting married. Yeah. It was like, well, yeah, you're going to go to college and you got to be a professional and you're going to have a career. But it always went back to this fundamental thing, like you have to get married and have a family, and it has to happen in a certain time frame, and it's happening all around you. All these people are getting married, and you're going to a wedding a week, every summer. You're just like, it's crazy, and and it's like, for what? Half the people are divorced, and then the other half are unhappy, and it's just. Like, yeah, we should be enjoying our youth. And I realize there's a timeline if you want to have children. And that's always our downfall, it seems like. It's the ticking clock.
Yeah, the time frame.
Yeah. I got to a point where it's like, well, I'm not going to marry anyone who is currently around me. I'm just going to have a baby and maybe I'll get married someday,
Yeah.
It's like, I just got to that point, and it's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I hope it's different now. I don't know, but I feel like it was really, really hard on us. I felt like we really were just being pulled in all these directions. And I see it like on Love is Blind, I see these women, the men are much more able to take it more in stride because they don't have a ticking clock when it comes to fertility. And the women, it's like there's this desperateness to it. And I've felt that desperateness, and I'm sure you have too. It's just like, it's just, ugh.
Well, really, biologically, men are allowed to grow and evolve and change and become who they are and then have a family.
Right.
We are not.
Right.
That's the problem. Like, the reality is that, we don't really know who we are. Brain doesn't fully form until we're 25. So we don't really know who we are. We are constantly evolving. I shouldn't say we never stop knowing, but like, by the time that you get and you really understand yourself and know what you want for yourself and what you want in a relationship, it's in that moment you have to meet somebody because, and that's usually like late 20s, early 30s, but it's in that moment. And men have that luxury because they get to evolve and grow and, oh, okay, so I'm ready for this. Here I go. But women, we're just like, these messages are just constant. And yeah, and you can hear the biological clock ticking, and you also know that, you know, you're around lots of people. And I think that's why women end up marrying and having children with men that are just like, what were you thinking? You know, but it was just because they just felt this way.
You felt like you had to.
The other thing too is, and I don't know how you felt in terms of our parents, but I never got the message about being married ever from our parents. From our parents, it was always about going to college, potentially getting an advanced degree, but going to college and building a career and doing something that is, I felt like, you know, that was important and meaningful and special, or, you know, something. Like it always felt, that's what I felt like. I never, ever, ever felt like no one ever told me I could just get married. That was never something that anyone just said that, like, you know, you get married and have children and your husband could be the breadwinner. Like I didn't even think that was an option. I just didn't even think that was real. I just never thought that I could do that.
But there was always this underlying assumption, I felt, that we would, you know, want to have children. And therefore, to have children, we would have to get married. Because not so much from our dad, but our mom is very traditional. She's very Southern. She was, you know, her mother is Southern. She's pretty uptight was pretty uptight, I feel, about
these kinds of things.
And it was so much, it wasn't even a spoken thing. It was just like, that's the way she spoke. Like, well, when you get married and have children, or when you have children, like, I don't think she didn't envision that her daughter was going to be a single mom. You know, I really don't think she ever thought that. I mean, maybe later in life, like as she got older, but when she was raising us and we were getting these messages as teens and young women, I mean, I felt that was implied in all of this, you know, that we were going to do it all. We were going to, you know, have careers and families. And that meant, you know, getting married. That was part of it.
See,
that's how I felt.
No, I believe you. I mean, I remember declaring that I was never going to have kids, and Grandma Betty being like, "Oh, you'll change your mind," and thinking like, "No, I won't." But and then I did. But you know, I don't know. I just see, and that's the other thing too about perception and who we are. It is, you know, you had like, that's what you heard. I guess in my mind, I think if I heard those things, and I believe I probably did, I think I just tuned them out. Like it didn't mean anything to me.
You didn't take it in.
I didn't take it in because I was so focused on my career. I was so focused on, you know,
and maybe
doing
she
something.
Didn't say it as much to you. Maybe she said it to me and then maybe changed and then just didn't say it to you. Yeah. You're also the second one. Like your first child, I think you're more like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're much
more uptight.
More uptight about it. And like, I got to say these things, I got to plant these seeds. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then after, you know, the second one comes along, it's like, oh, she'll figure it out. You know, or you think you told her the same thing, but maybe you didn't. So yeah, it's, you know, different, you know, parenting styles for different kids, but no, I definitely felt that. So
well, if there's any young women out there, please enjoy being single.
Yeah. Travel.
Though I hate those people who say when I was single, like, are you seeing anyone? I hated that. I hated it. Whether I was or was not at the time, it always bothered me because it felt very intrusive. And I also kind of felt like I'm not going to show up with somebody until I kind of feel like maybe something's there. Like I dated a lot of different people that people didn't meet because it was just a little bit like, I got to wait this out. I'm not introducing you to anybody unless I know like, okay, this might work. And so that's the other thing too, is people assume that if you're not introducing them to people or whatever, that you're like some sad, single, lonely person. It's like, you don't know what's going on with people. People got lots going on. So don't even ever assume that. But don't ask people, please. It's like asking women, are you going to have children, or when are you going to get pregnant, or when are you going to have babies? Yeah. It's like, don't ask people, are you seeing someone? And no one asks this to men the way they do to women. And then having to say no, it's like, oh, Like as if I've done something wrong.
Yeah, you poor thing. Oh, someday someone will come along and want to date
But
you.
what I love, and this is what I say to my clients as well, I say to them, you can all have boyfriends if you wanted them. Every last one of you.
Yeah.
If you wanted to walk out the street right now and have a boyfriend, we could go find you one. Because trust me, there's a lot of guys out there that are, well, I said, what you want is someone that is, that you want, that you're attracted to, that's going to treat you well. That's what you're really looking for. And that's a hell of a lot harder.
Mhm.
So having a boyfriend it's not hard.
Yeah.
Not at all. It is boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you're looking for. Not hard. What's hard is finding someone you connect with and then making a life with them without killing them. As we've done all these true crime shows, like that's the hard part. So please don't say it to people and don't feel bad at all. And if you're single, enjoy it. Just dig in and love it. And every single time you get to do something on your own and whatever, just be so grateful. Be so grateful because there's one isn't better than the other. It's just different. That's all. So there you go.
Says the married lady who has a
husband. Well, I don't know. What would you say?
No, I definitely, I mean, I don't know. Both things are true.
Mhm.
It is nice to have alone time and time to, just do whatever you want to do. But it's also, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's lonely, having to do everything yourself and, all that. So, there's good and bad parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're young, in your 20s, you should not be in a hurry to be doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
You should be, doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Figure yourself out. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself right now is just figure yourself out. Figure out what you want, what you don't want. Take the time to do that. You'll make much better decisions.
It just gets real tricky when you get into your 30s because again, you're running up against the fertility thing. And if you want to have children, that is really, it's really hard. And it's just unfair.
Yeah, it's very unfair.
It's fun. It's kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. All right.
We said a lot.
Oh, we've said it all. Okay. I'm emotionally drained. All right.
Well, I guess we'll be back for the reunion, which is I think it's
a Monday night or something.
This finale drops on a Friday.
Yes.
We're recording ahead of time, but it drops on Friday, March 7th, and I think the reunion is on the 9th, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So very, very soon.
Very soon. We'll be back talking about that.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoy us and enjoy our podcast, please go check out our Patreon. We have lots of extra content over there, and we talk a bit more about our personal lives and hot topics and other things. If you have not given us a review, please go to Apple and give us a 5-star rating. Those ratings help us tremendously, helps people find the podcast. Please share the podcast with a friend or 2 or 10, whomever, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Follow us on social media at Psychological Pop, at Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's it. We'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Hannah Berner from Giggly Squad. Have you ever put on a bra that makes you feel like a goddess? Prepare to be obsessed with the Dream Angels Wicked Bra from Victoria's Secret, the iconic brand behind the world's most comfortable bras. And I only wear the most comfortable bras. The bestseller features an innovative sling for perfect lift without padding, and the fit is chef's kiss. Awaken your inner goddess with new colors and super femme lace embroidery. Find out why this bra has thousands of 5-star reviews and counting. Shop it in stores and online at victoriassecret.com.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Stephen here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Stephen will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fanfellows wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey guys, welcome to Giggly Squad.
A place where we make fun of everything, but most importantly, ourselves.
I'm Paige DeSorbo.
I'm Hannah Berner.
Welcome to the squad.
Giggly Squad started on Summer House when we were giggling during an inappropriate time.
But of course, we can't be managed.
So we decided to start this podcast to continue giggling.
We will make fun of pop culture news,
we're watching,
fashion trends, pep talks where we give advice,
mental health moments,
and games and guests.
Listen to Giggly Squad on Acast or wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.